Hi, welcome back to Rising Above. This week we are focusing on living with intention and purpose. What does this mean in this time? It's a time of great uncertainty and change. And one thing that can be comforting even in the midst of suffering is to have a sense of meaning in your life. To understand that even when everything isn't under your control, you have the choice to make powerful decisions and to make changes where you can to ensure that your life aligns with your goals and your values. Before we get into this week's topic, I just want to recover some of the thoughts that we talked about last week related to self-compassion. You went through a few exercises where you thought about how do I typically respond to my feelings and my thoughts. And you learned how to respond with a sense of self-kindness, being kind to yourself the way that you would be to a good friend or someone that you loved or cared for. You learned about common humanity, the idea that many of these experiences that you have in life, you're not alone in having. We all make mistakes, we all experience failure and setbacks, and they can be painful reminders. But when we understand that we're not alone, it doesn't matter that we're not perfect. So I want you to remember that as we go into this week. And lastly, mindfulness. Just this ability to be present in the moment where you are without having to judge your experience, just observing how you feel. All of these are a good foundation for this week's activities because we're going to be looking at how you spend your time. And we really want you to not have a critical mindset about that. We want you to be thinking about just observing how you currently are spending your time and perhaps what tweaks can you make to make sure that your time is more aligned with the way that you are wanting to live and the goals you want to accomplish. So in order to do that, you're going to spend a little time thinking about where you're actually trying to go in life, reminding yourself that we all have different journey. And so we are going to provide you with some exercises to help you refine your current goals or values, and then to think about, is the way that I currently spend my time reflective of those goals and values? So the exercises we have for this week are 2 worksheets that will help you explore your goals and your values. Then you'll do a time log, either for a full day or for a portion of the day if there's one part of your schedule that you'd like to improve. And then you'll spend some time reflecting on these activities. As you go through the goals and values worksheet, you're going to learn about different categories that you could use to classify your current goals and values. So if one of these doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to use them. They're just options, but they're going to help you as you complete your log. We're also going to talk about distractions. So in and of itself, watching TV, playing video games, or scrolling on your phone, they don't have to be distractions, but they are distractions when we are using them to put off things that actually do advance us towards our goals. You will spend time defining for yourself what these distractions are and where they're popping up in your life. The other thing we want you to think about is, am I making time for myself for rest, for relaxation, for hobbies and activities that recharge me? I like to call this margin. Am I creating margin in my life, or is it so jam-packed full of activities that I don't actually have a chance to just play and enjoy life? So we're going to have you think about, if this is a priority for you, where is this showing up in your life, and how can you advance that? So when you're doing your time log, you're going to see a couple of columns across the top, and I'm going to show you an example in a moment. So you'll be able to define time in the intervals that make sense for you. For example, if you have a 2-hour block for an activity, you can record it as 2 hours. If you want to take a more fine-tuned approach, you can record every half an hour. It's really up to you. If you want to plan out your calendar ahead of time, you can put down your planned activities, and then you can see, what did I actually do during that time? Then you will be able to state what was the goal or value that this activity was aligned with, and you'll be able to note, is there a distraction that came up during this time that kept me from doing what I was intending to do? So without further ado, here's an example of someone going through their day. And you can see that they mapped it out from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So when they first woke up, they made time to read. Then they exercised. And then they had a 2-hour block where they said, I got ready, I was in the shower, just having breakfast, listening to music. And they described this at a time that, gave them a chance to take care of themselves, but also just to relax and have fun. Followed by a 3-hour work meeting that they said was both career and social because they really enjoyed it. After that, they were scheduled to have lunch, but what ended up happening was they had a friend who was really upset, and they actually spent time consoling them to the point where they didn't even get a chance to eat. And then they were planning to do a 3-hour study block. But because they were so stressed from what had happened during the exchange with the friend, they ended up doing a mixture of studying, snacking with comfort foods, doing social media, and video games. After that, they had a 4-hour class, which was part of their goal of being able to obtain a specific career and a part of their value of education. After that, they took 2 hours to have dinner and to unwind, and they unwound by watching television. So then at 11 p.m., they went to sleep, which they classified as physical because part of their physical goal is to care for their body and their value is to advance their well-being. So each of these categories comes from the list that I showed you a few slides ago, and it will also be in your worksheet. Now, if you look at the distractions category, you can see there's a couple of hours during the day where there were a lot of distractions, and creating this log gives them an opportunity to now look at this and see their day from a more objective point of view and say, what is going well and what can I improve? So again, you may choose to do a full day. You might choose to do a weekday and a weekend day if there's a lot of variation in your schedule, or you might say, my morning is pretty dialed in. The afternoon is what I really want to focus on improving. That's when I know things kind of got off the rails. So I'm going to track those hours. I want you to make this manageable for you. So you get to decide how many hours you're going to track. And so the next thing that they did some reflections, and I'm also including this in your worksheet so you'll be able to read it after you watch this video. But they were able to see that their goals of caring for themselves in terms of their physical and also finishing their education, which is part of their career goal, both of these are reflected in their value in their activities. They did say that they tend to have a lot of distractions in the early afternoon, and they really spent some time exploring why those distractions occur. And that actually tied into their leisure because they realized if I took a few minutes to unwind after this and to recover, I might have been able to stay on track with my studying and not procrastinate so much. They also thought about their social support, and they said, I'm really happy I was able to support my friend, but I realized I don't really have time in my day to connect with the people that support my goals. So they wanted to do a better job of creating time in their schedule for social support. And I like to underscore here, this is a matter of quality over quantity. Obviously, we're going to spend a lot more hours in a day typically working or studying or doing other activities than we are spending time with the people that we value most. So our goal is really just to make that time intentional and quality. And I'll give an example from my personal life. I like calling my mother every week, and I know that sometimes I'm really busy, so I try to make sure at least one of those conversations is completely unrushed. And that makes me feel good, it makes me feel intentional, but it doesn't overwhelm me. And it reminds me that I still get to prioritize the things that are most important to me, even when I have a lot of things to do. And so the last thing that they said was they looked at the resources, which are going to be included in your workbook, and they said, I want to start using a timer when I'm studying so that I remember to take breaks and move around. They also said I'm going to break my goals down into smaller, more manageable tasks. So that actually goes hand in hand with the timer. Instead of studying for a 3-hour block, now they can say, I'm going to do these specific tasks and I'm going to have these sessions with breaks in between. So that's really the overview for this week. What we're going to be doing next week is we're going to start thinking about what things you can do to manage your stress in terms of relaxation methods. So this might go into the leisure time, for example, the person who is doing the time log this week. And just so you know, these time logs are created by our lab. So we really try to think about things that are going on in our own lives, and we try to give you authentic examples. So we'll be continuing to do that next week as we explore relaxation methods, but we're going to be starting with psychological and spiritual methods next week. I look forward to having you then, and I hope that you enjoyed this week's worksheets. Again, take your time with it. Do the parts that resonate most strongly with you. You have a lot of options. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'm so happy that you're a part of this program. Take care.